Hello and welcome back to another tutorial with the Little Craft House. Today I'm going to show you how to make the most perfect striped checkerboards using a few of my top secret tricks. So stick around for the tutorial and I'm going to teach you how so that you can do it too. So today I'm going to be working with both Sculpey products. We're using Sculpey Premo Mauve and Sculpey Souffle Poppy Seed. So my preference for this would actually be to use Premo Black, but I don't have any on hand, so I'm going to use Souffle. Now, the reason I would prefer Premo is that as a clay in general, it's a little bit stickier. The Souffle being that more matte finish means it doesn't stick quite as well to the other clays for this technique. But it's all right, we're going to work with it anyway, and I'm sure it will be fine. So I'm just going to start conditioning up the clay, getting it all nice and soft. The black is going to be going through our extruder in a minute, so it does need to be really soft. Again, that's another advantage of using the Premo. Otherwise, Cernit could even work well for this as well. Now I'll move on to the mauve. Firstly, actually, I should wipe my hands because I've been using the black, and black is quite known for colour transfer. So I'm always getting it down my fingernails and all over my fingers, and the roller as well. So just make sure you give them a good wipe down if you're using black. Now, I think this time I'm going to use about half a block because I'm just going to work with a small slab today. And again, I'm just going to condition up this clay, get it nice and soft and workable. I'll probably roll it through my pasta machine as well on the thickest setting, just to give it a even thickness for us to work with. Now I chose to work with the mauve and black clay today, just because they're nice opposing colours, and yeah, the black stands out really nice against the mauve. Now is the time for us to work with the extruder. So if you haven't come across an extruder before, this is a handy little tool which extrudes out big strands of clay. So I'm going to choose the cap that has, or the disc rather, that has lots of little holes in it, because I want my pieces, my strands to be nice and thin. When I'm doing my stripe technique, which I've had a YouTube video previously, a few months back, actually probably about a year ago now. My stripe technique, I use a thicker disc, but today I'm going to use one that has lots of the little holes. And so we're just going to load up the clay into the extruder. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect, just whack it in there, give it a good old squish, get it all down nicely. Now this extruder is my favourite because it is a twisty handled one. I've tried using push ones before and they just really hurt your fingers. So if you can get your hands on a twisting one, like we sell in our shop, that is my preference. So we just wind it on down until you feel a bit of tension, and that's when the clay will be ready to start coming through the other end. Now, I don't know if this is a weird technique or if it's normal or what, but I like to hold the extruder up so that the strands then hang down. It just kind of stops them from getting tangled with each other so much, especially when it is a stickier clay. So it's probably not going to do that as much today being souffle, but if it was Premo, you risk the chance that the strands start to stick together a bit. Don't mind me for a moment, I'm just going to clear off my tile here just to give myself some more working room. Now I have a little trick to keeping the lines super straight whilst we are going to create our checkerboard or checkered style slab. So this little hack is something that you probably all have in your homes. So I like to use some lined paper. So just the normal lined paper, they're probably like not even a centimetre thick, each of these lines, and that's just perfect for the design that we're doing today. So I'm going to line my clay up on the paper with the lines going in whichever direction you like first. And then strand by strand, I'm going to put the black clay onto the base clay. As I said earlier, the souffle poppy seed is going to create a slight challenge for me. It's not sticking on as easily as what it would if it was Premo to Premo. So I'm just going to run my finger along and press it down just slightly as I'm going, just to hold it in position. So I'm just going to speed things up a little bit now, just to show you me working on it. Now, this technique is definitely not one that you're just going to whack out in a few minutes. It does take time and a lot of concentration. So if I showed you this in real time, I'm sure you'd get bored really, really quickly. So we're just going to speed things up. Okay, now I'm coming to the end. I've got a few strands here at the bottom that are quite long. So I'm just going to give a quick little trim of those overlapping pieces and get them out the way so that it's easier for me to do the next step. This next step is a little trick that I like to do. I just cover the clay with some non-stick baking paper. And I'm just going to press down gently and then roll in the direction of the lines. I find that this helps to stop the distortion of the lines and the clay doesn't stick to the roller. Once I've finished removing the paper, I'm just going to finish trimming off those overhanging pieces, just to neaten it up. You don't have to go too close to the clay because we can tidy it up properly afterwards. We're then going to gently remove the clay from the paper and we're going to turn it in the opposite direction so that those lines now go from the top to the bottom. And we're going to start working back through the stripes again, this time in this direction. And I'm going to speed this process up again because otherwise we're going to be here all day watching me just do these stripes. Now, one thing that I do really love about this technique is that there's obviously a lot of variations that you can do as well. You could always try using different thicknesses of the strands of clay that you're using. You could also try different colours, alternating them like a rainbow. You could silk screen underneath or on top, or you could add some texture. Just the possibilities are endless, but I'm just going to show this one today. But if you do try anything different, please tag me because I would love to see. And so once again, I'm just going to place the baking paper on top to smooth the pieces out. And because we're applying pressure here to the clay, I find that the strands adhere to the base well enough without any need for any sort of clay adhesive or glue. There we go. How good does it look? All right, stick around with me now if you'd like to see me assemble these into some earrings. It's not normally a process that I show a lot of on my videos just because I like to leave these sort of things up to your imagination. However, today I thought I will show part of that process. So I'm just choosing some different shapes to try and fit onto this slab. Now, sometimes I find that this can be the most trickiest part because I want to use as much as possible with as little waste as possible. So trying to find those different shapes to fit in and I suppose sort of Tetris it on, that can be quite a challenge sometimes. I think the added challenge for a slab like this one as well is remembering the directions, because if you've got a slab that doesn't have these vertical and horizontal lines, you're able to put things on angles. But because I need to keep them all straight, it just creates a little bit more of a challenge. I also like to try and get as many stud pieces out that I can as well, because they can always be added into stud packs or coordinating pieces, which I don't always think about. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the skeleton left over once I've cut these pieces out, but I will just put it to the side because I will find a use for it later at some point, even if it's just mixing it together to create a new colour. Okay, so I like to pop these in the oven and bake them for approximately 45 minutes to an hour, and I do it at about 130 degrees. Now, once they're out the oven, I have sanded them and drilled them already. I'm sorry I didn't film that process, but now I'm going to assemble them together with the jump rings. So today I've chosen to use 8mm black jump rings. 8mm is my preferred size. I just find that it sits quite nicely. And I'm also using some black acrylic tops, which I had in my stash, just to coordinate with these arch pieces. So thanks so much for joining me today for this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it and learnt something new. Now, if you head over to my Instagram, you'll find another colorway on there that I recorded a little while ago. So scroll back and you'll see one that I've done with green and gold. And if you have enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as I will be popping more tutorials up more regularly, as well as over on my Instagram, where I do daily inspiration and tutorials over there as well. And so thank you once again, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.